What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles, welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. Happy Tuesday. This should be when we have one more round of Yo Joe June coming at us. I'm not quite sure why the Classified Series team decided to wrap it up early, but in their absence, I decided to do one more Joe focused episode in June as we look to the horizon for the big reveal of the Joe HasLab at San Diego Comic Con. And I've been going through different Joe lineups from the Real American Hero line and then seeing how many characters we've gotten in the Classified series. I've done from 82 through 87. I feel like 87 and the one I'm going to focus on today are kind of somewhat of the forgotten waves. This is when we didn't have a full dedicated cartoon series. Yeah, I know about half of the figures got shown in G.I. Joe the movie, but there were other really cool additions to that lineup that never got much love, never got that much attention, simply because there wasn't a cartoon series running after the big 5-part miniseries. And then it was even worse for the 88 series because they got no love unless you're reading the comic books like me and really cared about these characters. There was no cartoon, there was no 5-part mini series, no nothing. It wasn't until the next year where we got the 89 and the 90 figures. Some of those were really great, that we got more G.I. Joe love from the fan base, even though they were in those terrible DIC cartoons. And anyway, taking a look at the 88 lineup, and this is strong, really great character designs. And I think the 89 one also has some really underrated figures and characters, and just their looks. Kind of goes off the rail as the line continues on from 91, the Ninja Force characters for the most part. And just the randomness of the Joe designs, like everybody gets new looks, the old school characters are back into the line, and it gets wild. But this series I thought was really strong. Some characters that need their due, and it's not surprising because even with the Classified series team, they haven't given 88 too much love. When I wrote down this list of characters, when I was like, oh man, there's so many they still need to knock out and do, they hadn't really done much of anything. Let me take a look here real fast and show you this lineup and where we stand with this 1988 roster. So, as you can see, 17 single carded figures. We've only had a couple of figures that are already out to us. Not a lot of figures on that roster do we have in our collections right now. And just to give you a quick heads up of everybody we've gotten so far, we've gotten Shockwave, and poor guy couldn't get the correct front package on the box, but he looks cool. And I think they did a really nice job with Shockwave. And we know Road Pig is coming. He was a name only announced figure. Hopefully we'll see the render. It wasn't until this month with earlier Joe reveals that we got new additions to this set. First up is this guy Storm Shadow. Got him on the mountaintop, drawing the bow, getting all set to do some damage to Cobra. There's some more cool shots just because I thought these were really exceptional from shooting the galaxy and just look great. There you go. One of my favorite ones we've seen so far, the 1980s movie poster. He's leaping out at us in Alpines in the distance. And then the other figure is the Iron Grenadier. So we've really not gotten a lot. And you could argue this is not the Iron Grenadier that you might want because it's not as classic, dedicated to the Real American Hero design as a lot of these other newer Classified series releases. Right down to the tie here. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it's a cool design. I just still think it's probably better suited for the leader of the Iron Grenadiers, like the Iron Grenadier Commander, as opposed to the army builder version of these guys. It looks cool, really looks solid, but that's all we've gotten so far from this Classified series line from 88. So 17 characters. We've got 4 that we know are coming. 1 in hand right now. 2 imminent. Supposed to come by December. Probably more likely September. Maybe as late as October. Definitely not December. Putting all my money on that one. But there are other great characters. And I want to break down quickly, sort of not quickly, some of the ones before I choose which Joe and which Cobra I want to see first. So let's start off with let's do it in alphabetical order. Let's keep it simple. The Astro-Viper. And these pictures and all these images come from our friends at 3djoes.com. Definitely my favorite resource for G.I. Joe information and pictures and all those great resources. So you can take a look at the astronaut, the Cobra Knot, the Astro Viper. And it's a cool looking figure, especially without all the gear. But I really think this is a cool outfit, especially if we consider how the classified series team is able to take these older designs and do something a little bit different, a little bit cooler with them. I mean, this drill here is just insane. We got some, not a drill, I guess this is a laser blast, but these laser blasts, kind of like a one-man flight rig. It's pretty cool. I don't really see how useful these are outside of space, but I think the design could be really well incorporated into the classified series line. These are the Strato Vipers, the Night Raven pilots who then go off into space. So here you go, cool design, breaks up some of that blue that we always see from Cobra, and that's your astronaut. And it's interesting with this one, the 88 line, it's not so many Cobra definitive army builders are like, oh man, I got to build 12 of these guys. This is more of a niche group of Cobras. So a little bit more in that sense, where it's a little bit more individual in terms of the cool Cobras, but definitely some good additions, solid figures, as always, as you would expect from the classified series line. Now let's take a look at our first Joe, and you might not quite see him so easily because of all the white. This is Blizzard, the Arctic attack soldier. And when I did my snow Joes that I wanted to see, he's definitely up there. I mean, he comes with his own sled kit, motorized ski pack, and he's just like a one-man snow dude. And he's awesome because he's got so much gear and he's a really fun-looking character. He can go skiing and he can just take a ride on his ski pack. So that's fun. I really loved his helmet. I didn't think the Real American Hero design did it as well, but the classified series team would knock this out, get that bird nose kind of thing. Shout out Nighthawk, Defender, and Hulk. And we would get this translucent look so we could see, or transparent look so we could see his eyes underneath the helmet. We'll get that full visor look. That would look really great for him. And I think a lot of snow job they could repurpose for this guy too. Just kind of doing a little bit of gentle, soft repaints. For the most part, I think that's the mold they went with. So give him new gloves, give him a different belt or knife sheath setup, give him that hood and a new helmet. I think we're all set to go. So I'd really like to see Blizzard. I think he's a really cool, pun intended, addition to the classified series. And I'm all about getting more Snow Joes added to the team. All right, so now it's time to go to another Joe, and this one's pretty Joe heavy. It's not a lot of good Cobras, just not a lot of Cobras in general for this setup, especially since we've already gotten two of the big ones shown or at least announced. Next up is a Joe that I think is really cool. Definitely a good addition to the team. Budo, the samurai warrior. We've got ninjas, we've got martial art experts, but I think having a samurai, as impractical as it sounds, onto the team is just really fun. I love his design, and he was part of the team that got introduced in a mass recruit of Joes. So he, Repeater, and Lightfoot made it into the end of the Joe recruits and went on a mission. And it's just wild how they've got this gear set up for them. I really like his costume. I thought they did a lot of cool stuff, even in the Real American Hero, set up with this. Like, look at the gauntlets he's got, the chest armor. I mean, he's got a lot of cool, he looks different from a lot of the Joes. He's got his hair kind of stylized in a mohawk, and the helmet, he really stands out. And of course, he's going to have to watch out when there are bats going around firing guns because he just uses blades and edge weapons. But I think it'd be really fun to have him hanging out with Quick Kick, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Jinx, that whole crew, and just standing out and being different because he is not a ninja. So, and I think he's got an awesome look and would make for a really fun addition to the team, to the squad. And I just think they would do really such a great job with his armor, his whole design in the classified series. Look, now here's a Joe that I kind of want to wait his turn a little bit simply because we don't have the predecessor, this skill set in the line, and that Joe would actually wrap up another series, the 1984 team. You probably know who I'm talking about from all those teases and clues. I'm talking about Charbroil. Charbroil, the flamethrower. You can have it your way. I don't really love his color scheme. It's got that brown, yellow, red thing going. I do like his helmet. I think that's cool. This backpack looks like it carries a lot more trouble, a lot more thermochemical, pressurized thermochemical gear, whatever he's using to create these flames. And he's got, I think the helmet is really the coolest part about this guy. But I do think if you look at this card art, and they gave him more of a gold color scheme as opposed to this dirty brown, let's call it. And I think if they went with that look, it would look cooler. Give it all silver, those red pouches, silver, silver, and then yellow. I think if we got that design, it would look better. But I'm still like, we need to get to Blowtorch before we get to Charbroil. And for that reason alone, I'm going to hold him. He's going to get delayed, pushed down a little bit towards the back of the line. Blowtorch looks cooler. Blowtorch has better colors. So let's get to him first. But there's Charbroil, definitely one to consider in this 88 lineup. And next up is one that I hope we see fairly soon. I think he's a really awesome looking Joe. Talk about hardball, the multi-shot Grenadier, and his thing, his whole setup, the Major League Baseball player. I mean, they were always incorporating sports into pretty much every series of GI Joe. After a certain point, we had Bazooka, and we've got him. I mean, just guys just running around with jerseys, doing their thing, and he is just a fun Joe. I mean, peep this massive grenade launcher, and I just like the idea of a baseball player using something like this to shoot grenades, kind of playing up the whole fastball. Hardball's got some really hard balls with these. That sounded terrible. Phrasing, please. And he's got these grenades, and they're a little bit harder than a baseball, especially the way he's shooting them. But I mean, check this out. He's got these grenade launcher pouches there. He's got a little handgun just in case he runs out of grenades. But I just love the idea of aiming grenades like this and just shooting them off in a salvo at Cobras and just going nuts. And his backstory, his bio, his file card. It's really cool. After 5 seasons of playing center field in the minor leagues, Hardball came to the realization that the big league scouts just weren't interested in athletic prowess. They wanted star quality. So this guy is like, oh man, I'm not marketable enough to be a major league player. I'm going to go join G.I. Joe. That's a crazy backstory. And it actually gave him a cool purpose too, because the Joe team had a real need for a guy who could judge distances accurately and react quickly with deliberation. So he's basically like Short Fuse, another mortar launcher character. The backstory is cool. His whole getup with the hat, the jersey, the pants. He's a pretty simple Joe to do. Just got to make sure we load him up with that grenade backpack and this big, massive gun. I think he'd be really fun to see into the series. So he's one. And I'm sure you kind of figured he's high up on my list of characters I want to see for this one. Next up, I think this character stands a better chance than some others of getting done quickly, simply because the mold is there and he's basically a repaint from a Joe we've already gotten. Hopefully, or I guess we haven't gotten that Joe in hand yet. We will later on this year. And of course, I'm talking about this guy hit and run, the light infantryman. And he's basically ripcord, I think, right down to the helmet. Maybe they give him a new helmet and a new head sculpt, hopefully. But I mean, this is ripcord or a Crazy Legs helmet, whichever way you want. Well, more or less ripcord, because the Crazy Legs outfit mold doesn't work with all that waffle pattern on him. So it's basically a ripcord repaint. Say that 3 times fast. He's got his bag. I really like that. Duffel bag, rope, grappling hook, knife. And here's a look at that. And he's got some pretty cool gear. Huge knife, not little small one. It's a massive honking one. He is ready to do some damage. I can envision him pulling out that knife. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Going with the full-on Crocodile Dundee, and then some Cobra Ninja comes and slashes it totally in half. And he's like, oh, all right. But you can do this. I really like the idea of having Joe's on the display, kind of hanging from one shelf to the next. And You can see that shout out look to the file card art. I think he would make for a really colorful Joe simply because he's got all kinds of camo. You see the file art again, doesn't really have it as covered as the figure where he's just all green. I think they just got a little way out there with the camo coloring. So I think in the classified series line, they probably do a little bit different with the paint on his arms, because it's not just his hands, the wrists, the hands, the face paint. It kind of makes it up, do more of a watered down face print. This is kind of more like the file card, but he's a fun looking character. And of course, I'd have him teaming up with Alpine on missions because they're both scaling up and down these big mountains, trying to save the day from mountaintops. And he would be a fun addition as well. As always with me, there's going to be very few Joes, and we're going to go, I never want to see this character in the line. I want them all, going to get them all, just as long as they're individual characters. Repaints, maybe not so much, but you're a new Joe, a new addition to this set. I'm buying it. I don't need Tiger Force, Night Force hit and run, but regular hit and run, and Charbroil for that matter. I'm down for all these guys. Shocker, right? Next up is a character that really kind of makes me consider how many Cobra eels I really need in my collection, because there's some cool Cobra undersea characters. And I've got my 5 eels, and I probably want to get a couple more from the retro series. But my Cobra Naval Force has some really great designs, some really cool. Feel like I said cool about 30 times already in this 16 minutes. But anyway, magnificent, spectacular design. And this is one that they release it. We get this design as cool as they've made some classified series setups. May have to go hard and get like 7 of these. I'm talking about the Hydro Viper, the Cobra Underwater Elite Trooper. This mask alone makes this thing a complete sell to me. But this is what it looks like without that really cool creeper mask on. We got this really interesting pattern with the vest. You can see that you can kind of rock this look even without the mask. But I think this is what really sets it off. You got a little manta ray, stingray going there. Got the harpoon gun, the flippers, and this mask is just so sinister. Kind of makes it look like a little creepy character added to the mix here. Devil Ray, sorry, not a manta ray or stingray, a devil ray. And that's kind of fun because we don't really necessarily see a lot of Cobras with animal sidekicks. Got Croc Master, got Naugahyde, but Hydro Viper with the full devil ray, I think that's kind of fun. Giving Torpedo, wetsuit eventually, Deep Six, hopefully some more issues. But this guy, good grief. I mean, look at the gloves. This is not our traditional, usual bottom feeder Cobra army guy. I mean, this guy looks really sinister and just, I mean, this mask is like scary. And I can imagine Torpedo going, whoa, what's going on? And they're surgically altered to withstand nitrogen narcosis and other side effects of deep diving. Synthetic webs are implanted between their fingers. So, we got to get this detail in there as well. I'm sorry, those guys just aren't human anymore. They have a handshake like a dead mackerel, and they leave damp spots on all the furniture. I realize they're virtually unbeatable in underwater combat, but so is a great white shark. And I'll bet the shark is friendlier. Come on. I mean, you got your eels and you got these hydro vipers, and this is more of that Cobra manipulating people's bodies and doing all kinds of weird, wacky stuff. Give me that. I'm all about it. So Hydro Vipers, I'm going to army build a whole bunch of those when we get them because their design is crazy. And this is what I'm talking about for Cobra. Give me all the wacky, crazy, bizarre designs you possibly can. And then we've got another one that I'm okay with. He's probably my least favorite design simply because I feel like he's venturing, kind of foreshadowing some of these other more intricate, kind of needlessly busy characters that we would see later on. And we at least have the original Joe with this specialty with tripwire. So this is kind of like another one. And how often do you need 2 mine detectors? But we've got Lightfoot, the explosives the explosives expert. And he's got a wacky setup. He's got a night vision helmet, mine detector unit, a hose, a robot. So Tripwire in a classified series line kind of already has this skill set and a backpack. He's got grenades here. I think they might need to change up his color scheme when we see him in the classified series line, simply because yellow and green is basically Airtight's color scheme. So I don't know how they would change it up just a little bit. Maybe change the shading, the hues of these colors, just so he's a little bit different. He's got that cool blue helmet with the red, but he's got a lot going on. His robot looks a little bit lame. You could imagine they would do something different when and if he makes it to the classified series line, but he's got a lot happening with this look, and I just don't know how much is necessary. His helmet is just kind of, he looks like he would almost fit in like a human Transformers character more than a GI Joe. But there you go. He's here as Lightfoot. Not one of my favorites by any means, but probably one that we need to see eventually in this series. Okay, so we got Lightfoot knocked out, almost done. It's a really quick series, and it's just, I think I'm going to need to go and do the 1988 vehicles, because that's where we got some really interesting choices, and at least two I want to see relatively soon. One's a massive Joe vehicle, the other is an essential Cobra. Well, not quite Cobra anymore, but one that we should see. I'll probably just do a little quick hit to them too. But let's go to the next Joe in this setup. Muskrat. Muskrat is a must for me. He's a swamp fighter. He's going after Destro. He's going after, not Destro, Zartan, the Dreadnoks in the swamp. He's hanging out with Gung Ho. They're doing their thing. He's got a little swamp skimmer, so let's have at it. He's got a machete and a super 90 shotgun, and he can rock the swamp skimmer on his back. I've always thought Muskrat was just such a cool Joe, and his whole design, it's so basic, it's so simple, but I like the hat, I like the vest, no shirt underneath it for me, please. And just the fact that he had something to go ride around in the swamp, that looked really cool to me. And I just love his design. It's simple, but it works. And sometimes with the Joes, that's all you need. The shotgun action, the machete, he's ready for action, and he's gonna go do his thing. So yeah, I would love to see him, and I don't think that he would be one that would be too difficult for them to do in terms of, oh, we got to sculpt all these new parts. Don't need it. He's steady, and he's all set to rock in our classified series. Let's go on to the next one. We've got rock and roll. We've got roadblock. It's time for another big heavy machine gunner, and that's Repeater, the Steadicam machine gunner. And again, like Muskrat, not an overly complicated design, but it does look stellar. Not cool. And I like that he's got a digital camo pattern as well as Storm Shadow. So I kind of wish we'd seen more of that with the 88 Joes, maybe like a linking thing. So maybe Hit and Run, for example, could have had this camo pattern where we're starting to edge into the 90s with how we're doing the camouflage with the Joe outfits. But I really appreciate and love the fact that he has it. So we got the high rolled up sleeves, nice vest. I love the hat deal. He's another Ranger. So we've got a bunch of Rangers at this point in the Joe squad. And he's got a machine gun that's pretty big. And I don't think that would be too obnoxious to see done in the classified series line. And he's pretty basic. I do love this head sculpt. So hopefully we can get a big kind of granite Arnold Schwarzenegger style head for him. And he was in that issue again with Budo and with Lightfoot. And these guys were just a fun trio. And I didn't get all three of them, but I really would like to do that if they make it to the classified series. But Repeater, Muskrat, very basic Joes, but I think they would be two of the more popular ones done in the classified series style. And I said we're almost done. There's just two more left, and it's such a wild, quick series to go through. I think there's other lineups of Joes, other years that had a lot more, but here you go on the home stretch. Now we've got Spearhead and Max. Can't forget about the Point Man and his Bobcat. when these Joes and their animal sidekicks, I know a guy having a wolf is a lot, but he's a ninja, so we could excuse that. But having a pet bobcat sounds dangerous, but it works for him. And here's another one that's got a little bit of that cross between the digital camouflage and a more old school style. He's one that would work for that too. See his vest. I really like the detail on that. The machine gun strap across the chest, kind of an homage to rock and roll. I always like when they do that. I'm not quite sure why. It seems really dangerous, but I just like the look of it. And he's got a big knife too. He's ready. And I've always liked his rifle. I thought that made it so he could handle himself leading off everything. So, Max is going to be ahead of him. And if he starts spotting some danger, he's got you all covered because he's got that big machine gun. He's got a knife if some Cobras start coming up a little bit too closely. And just take a look at this file card art. He looks massive, ready to go. And clearly, what we got from Hasbro way back in the day is not quite the Bobcat on this card art. So I think they would do a lot of fun work with an updated version of Max nowadays. So I'd like to see him really soon, just because that's crazy. So yeah, really fun to see him into the line, him, Spearhead, and Max. Can't forget everyone's favorite Bobcat coming into the line. All right, last one, and this is again so weird how few of this lineup that we've gotten. It's the Toxo-Viper, Cobra Hostile Environment Trooper, and this guy looks really great. Love the color scheme, the purple, the dark brown, the different shade of blue. I guess it's turquoise. The red gloves. It's just a wild and wacky pattern of colors coming at you. So we got the pistol, the environmental helmet, the backpack, the air hose. Not even sure what this is, but he's got it and he's ready to go, cause all kind of mischief, destroy the ozone. So we've got our Echo Warriors whenever we get the rest of them. And yeah, the Toxo-Viper just looks really sinister, like this mask as well, or helmet. And because it's really elongated and it's got this big breathing apparatus up front. So you can see his head's probably like around that size, but everything else is so massive around it. So there you go. We've got these guys and just a really fun design for them. And I did mention, hey, what about some vehicles from this 88 squad? And we absolutely need to look at a couple just because I think they're too essential to ignore and kind of like, we'll get to them later. Let's go back to our main page, the main homepage of 3D Joe's 88 series. And let's scroll on through Night Force. Yeah, I'm good on those for now. Ditto for Tiger Force. No, thank you. Drivers and pilots. All right, so you can see a decent amount of Cobra, Iron Grenadier characters added to the mix. There's some really fun additions here on that end. Skid Mark drives a really cool vehicle. So does Windmill. Wildcard has one of my favorite Joe vehicles on this front. Let's just roll that out real fast. Pun intended. The Mean Dog. It's just a massive Joe vehicle. I feel like that's something we can see as a HasLab without too much trouble. Again, it's a pretty slender setup. We just make it for 3 Joes. It's not a whole lot going, but you could get this kind of action where we've got the big cannon separated. We've got the smaller part, so it's 3 battle units in one, the missile attack vehicle, the gun pool. I mean, this is a really fun setup here. I would love to see that. But in terms of the important ones that we absolutely need to have, I mean, come on, it's got to be Destro with the Iron Grenadiers leader, with his despoiler. I mean, there's no sense in getting so many Iron Grenadiers and not getting Destro at this point. And this is the same deal that we've already seen with Serpentor. We get with the main villain and we get his definitive vehicle right there all in one. And this is a pretty simple basic vehicle, pretty much like Serpentor's air chariot. I don't think this has to be too much more because there's no need for sophisticated snake in the front. It's just the pod, its wings, and a couple of gun missile placements there. I mean, this is like a little bit like the trouble bubble. So I kind of would imagine maybe 65 $70 at max for it. But this is one I hope we see next month at Comic Con because we've already gotten so many Iron Grenadiers at this point. We need to have the leader, the main guy for the team. So we need to have him in action. And that kind of reminds me, and I was saying all these other ones, and I realized somehow in my list of characters, I did skip one, and he's also tied into the Iron Grenadiers. He's the last solo number 17 in this mix. Voltar, Destro's general. And I love Voltar's design too. He's got kind of a major blood feel to him with this helmet, the I guess it's the mask, the patch over his eye. And I love that. He's got his own condor. So he's like looking, giving Raptor this side eye, modified Uzi submachine gun. And this guy looks really formidable. Like, check this weapon out. And it seems like this is skewing a little bit more red than purple. So I don't know if we want to go with that. I think maybe a purple makes more sense, like a deep, dark purple seems more of a Iron Grenadier color scheme than, say, the Cobra Crimson Red. And he's also listed as Battle Force 2000. I think maybe Hasbro's original idea was to have Battle Force 2000 be this whole thing, a separate entity, if you will, within the G.I. Joe ranks, kind of like Slaughter's Renegades, and then have their main villain be Iron Grenadier. So just Battle Force 2000 versus Iron Grenadiers, and G.I. Joe on one side and Cobra fight on another. And I think if Battle Force 2000 took off a little bit more, we could have kept adding to their ranks and then adding more to the Iron Grenadiers to have them fighting Battle Force 2000, not so much G.I. Joe. But Voltar has a very interesting, intricate design. His helmet would look really great. The facial hair, we know they love doing those great mustaches. So he's got a little bit of a handlebar mustache action going, a little bit longer peak there for the end of his beard. And I think they would knock it out. So love to see this guy. So Destro, his Iron Grenadier leader, his main leader, Voltar. And there's one other vehicle that I absolutely want to see sooner rather than later. And it seems like maybe the license for this guy is running out. So we'll want to get him soon because I don't want to see a case where we miss out on two of his vehicles. So we got to get the Triple T tank, but we also need to get this Sergeant Slaughter Volume 3, Version 3, the drill instructor look with this brown vest and the brown pants. And of course, this is when he is piloting or driving the Warthog, AIFV, Amphibious Infantry Fighting Vehicle. I love vehicles that carry a bunch of Joes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. And I think, what did we say here? It holds up to 9 figures. So that would be amazing. You can see this is a pretty wide vehicle, but I don't know if it necessarily is that much wider of a footprint than, say, the Vamp. I mean, we just need space to pack some Joes in. I think maybe this would have to be a HasLab to include 9 figures, maybe not 9. Maybe they would go with fitting 4 in here. So we get 4 here and we get 7. So that wouldn't be a bad trade-off. I would take that 2 here, 2 on this side, and then these 3 up top. So I want to do this float action though. I'd love to see a Joe vehicle, which I could not be worried about if it goes into the water. Oh no, it's ruined. I would so take this sucker out into my swamp, have Muskrat on the side of it, and then just doing her thing on the hunt for Dreadnoks. Because I just think this is such a cool vehicle. And this Warthog looks wild. I mean, like I said, it doesn't have so much stuff. There's not a whole ton of detailing in terms of, oh, we got this pop out thing. We just need spaces for the Joes to sit quietly and nicely. Got our machine gun here. We can borrow those from the Vamp. And there's these little canopies that we just lift up, these pivoting hatches. We lift them up and circle them around so they can move a little bit. We got our shipboard machine guns on either side. I mean, this is not that overly complicated. Let's make that happen. I'd be so down for it. You see one, and Hardball's got his. So it looks like there's just one machine gun. That's all I need. I'm good. Let's do this thing, put it in action, and let's get the Warthog. But that's it in terms of the 88 Joes. So when it comes down to which ones do I want to see, It's a big, serious question there. There are a lot of great candidates. Like I said, it's a small lineup of Joes and Cobras, but there's some really great designs, some really fun figures in this mix here. Since I'm not going to include the drivers and pilots right now, I don't want to cheat. I'm just going to stay focused with the original intention, just the solo ones. I want to say for the Cobras, it's got to be between Hydro Viper and Voltar, just because I think we need more help for the Iron Grenadiers. I'm gonna go with Voltar. I think he's gonna be my Cobra that I want to see. Now, if I want to be funny and say, well, Voltar is my Iron Grenadier, so my Cobra is gonna be Hydro Viper. I think maybe I will cheat and do that. For the Joes, oh boy, tough competition here. Blizzard, Budo, Hardball. Let's see. I think I'm gonna call it a tie and just punk out and say Hardball because the design's so much fun. In Blizzard because I want some more snow. Right now we've got 90-degree weather going on in the area, so I wouldn't mind some snow, some real snow that hopefully I can take my snowcat out in and have Blizzard and Snow Job and hopefully soon Iceberg added to the mix, Tundra, Stalker. So I can just have a lot of fun in the snow. So Blizzard and Hardball for the Joes, and for Cobra, the Hydro Viper, and for the Iron Grenadiers, Voltar. And if I want to cheat further and go with what vehicle I want to see next, I gotta go with Destro and his Iron Grenadier, his despoiler. That's what I want to see. And then for the Joes, sorry to slaughter and the Warthog, but there's some other good ones too. This 88 line, criminally underrated, really fun characters, really great designs, and I want to see a little bit more of them coming from the classified series line. So let me know what you guys think, which ones you want to see, and what are you hoping to see, at least from the first 1982 through 1988 waves. Which Joes do you want to see shown off next month at San Diego Comic-Con? As always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of the House Figure Files has been filed.